Alright, so we're going to do a really quick review, and we'll go from there. Guys, remember you're having to start off on our left foot. Before we even start, we're going to make it so your right foot is roughly pointing about 45 degrees off from your left foot that's straight. From here, we're going to end up making it so your left foot goes back, your right foot goes back, maybe about half the size of the first step. And then from here, we're going to go triple and forward and triple in. So we're going to go walk, walk, triple, big step, triple in place. We're going walk, walk, triple, big step, triple in place. That's it. Walk, walk, triple, big step, triple in place. Walk, walk, triple, big step, triple in place. Walk, walk. Big step, triple in place. Very nice. Ladies, give these gentlemen a round of applause. Alright, ladies, here we go. We're doing the same exact thing, right? Ours is a little bit more complicated, so guys, feel free to end up joining us while we're doing this, but we're going to take a little longer than what you guys did, because you guys don't shake your hips when we're doing this dance. So if we're dancing this, we're doing the same exact thing. Our foot's pointed about 45 degrees off. From here, we're going to take one walking step here. The second one, we're going to end up taking forward. And notice that you rotated your body from the hips pointing in that direction to this direction at this point. From here, we're going to end up doing a triple step as well. Only we're going to end up bringing our foot in towards the other one. Triple, and then from here, we're going to take our big step, rewinding back to this angle, and then triple. So we're going walk, rotate here, triple, big step, triple in place, walk, rotate here, triple, big step, rotate back, walk, walk, rotate back, triple in place. So walk, rotate here, triple, big step, triple in place, walk, walk, triple, big step, triple in place. 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 Very nice. Give these ladies a round of applause. All right. Gentlemen, if you have a partner that you brought here tonight, please find that person now. If you did not, grab Cindy. There we go. Nice. Alright, now from here, I'm going to end up getting us into a two-hand hold for now. So that our arms don't necessarily have to end up playing the hand in it, so we can really focus on those feet. Because I ended up giving you a lot of information, believe it or not, in your footwork. So from here, we're going to end up starting off with those two walking steps. After the count of 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to walk, walk, triple, big step, triple in place. 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 Very nice. Give that partner a round of applause. We all feel pretty comfortable with that at this point? Okay. Let's throw on some music. Let's try that. All right.
Okay, my feet are Thank you very much.
Alright, here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Walk, walk, triple, big step, triple in place. Walk, walk, triple, big step, triple in place. Walk,
learn to stay here, and I'll turn it back around. You learn to stay here, and I'll turn it back around. Said I don't wanna be alone now. You gotta make me change my mind. Baby, I got your number. Oh, I know that you got mine. You know that I called you. I called you many times. You can call me, baby. You can call me anytime. You got to call me. You know I understand. And I'll turn it back around. You know I understand. And I'll turn it back around. And I don't wanna be alone. You gotta make me change my mind. I don't want no one to scream that might take away my life. I don't want no one to scream that might take away my life. I just want someone to hold me, oh, and lock me tonight. Beautiful, how can I love you?
Very nice. Do that, partner. Alright, we're all feeling comfortable with it at this point. A little better? Good. Alright, so here's what we're going to do next. For those of you that do know the pull and push with the single hand and having the other hand as a high five, what we're going to end up doing at this point is making it so that we're just working on this hand. From here, you'll notice that if I was to end up raising her hand up, I can easily move my hand out of the way, right? Because there has to be a pull and a push with this one. We're literally going to end up going from the backs of the fingers to the palm and still have a little bit of space in between. And you guys that are standing over here, you'll notice that as well. There has to be that, and there's also a tone to the arm so that we're not doing this. Right? Exactly, yeah. We need to end up keeping some tone into that hand. You're absolutely right. Spaghetti arm. So as we're dancing this, these arms never move. The bodies move. They act as hinges, right? From the shoulder. This hand will never, ever, ever move. Right? So as a result, as a lady, when you're doing that specific footwork that I ended up working on with you guys, you're going to end up starting off here. Guys are starting off here, and as soon as she takes that second step, her hips are turned towards me, so that this handhold ends up connecting as well, so that when I push her back, her hips go back the way that they start. Right? Granted, that's a lot of information to take in. As we're doing this as a guy, we wanted to make this our bumper. This is our spring, our shock system, right? Just like a car. So as we're dancing this is what the lady's going to run into, and we're going to end up moving her back with that hand. Now notice, I'm not doing this. Right? That does not count as a push. We're guiding her, not pushing, right? No shoves, right? No step arms, none of that. So as we're dancing this, first off, just go into this one hand hold. Now, as we're dancing this, have it so that way your wrist is pointing down, just like Susan's. So the lady's hand, her wrist has to be back. And I'd use a reference, but it won't help. Unless you guys rode motorcycles at some point in time. You're hitting that throttle. Alright? Probably not, and that's okay. From here, as a guy, we should have tension into our hand so that we're moving away from our partner. So the lady and the guy, as ladies and guys, I want you to take your hips back so that way there's a little bit of pressure going into this hand. Now from here, if you were to release it as a guy only, ladies, you can't do this. You're not in charge for these 45 minutes. The guys are. So from here, release that and make it so that way you start to push at her. So your weight should be coming forward towards your lady at this point. There shouldn't be any tension through these fingers. See that? There should be none at all. So we should have it so that way our hand as a guy is like this. Now from here, we're pushing towards it. Exactly. Now moving away whenever you want. And as a lady, you should be moving away as well. And then as soon as you feel that he starts to ease up on it, start to go towards it. And then move away. This is probably the hardest thing to do in West Coast. I can teach you steps for days as soon as you know this. This is the hardest thing. If you don't have your connection, right, nothing else matters. So it's a matter of making it so there's a little bit of space in between the fingers, and you're moving towards your guy and away from him. Because he said so, not because I said so, or because you said so. Except for you. Except for you. Now from here, make it so that way your elbows don't move either.
The wrist is always pointed down even when you're coming up.
You want it to staying down.
The wrist is down.
Exactly. So that because when we start to end up moving in this, I'm going to show you this. So Susan's wrist is down at this point. We're actually going to end up doing this basic. Watch this. Walk, walk, bang. It's right? So if her wrist is up and I start doing this, she has to really work on doing that. If not, she's going to punch me right in the center. Which is okay. She won't mind that. I would. But I'm curls over her, right? So as we're dancing this, we want to keep the wrist down even though there's that tension, right? Which means now, as a guy, we're not going to do this, right? We're not going to end up putting all of our weight back. It's just enough so that way you can really feel your partner. So from here, we've got our elbows in front of our body, and we're starting to move back just a little. Now from here, as a lady, you can kind of feel them. This is how you should start. Before you even take a move, right? Now from here, as a guy, as soon as we start to take that step back, it's only going to create more pressure into this hand. Now the lady knows where your neutral point is. Because your neutral point is both of our hips moving away from each other, right? And then from there, as we start to move, she feels the extra motion, and then she starts to move as a result of it, right? The same thing happens in a dance frame, only this is a lot more concentrated because it's in one point of contact, right? We don't have 3 points of contact. We only have one at this point, which is this handhold, right? So as we're doing this, all of our hips should be back at this point. We're going to kind of settle back.
You want a wrist flex?
Yes.
So when you say down, you mean flex?
Down. Yes. Instead of it being straight.
That's what I do.
Yes, you want to end up having it flex. Now from here, as a guy, we should have our hips back. Notice I'm going to end up turning just from a side view here. So you'll notice I'm not standing up straight. The stance is not meant for that. It's a street dance. As you're doing this, you want to end up being further back into your hips. So that way when you start, all you got to do is start taking a walking step back, and the lady will move with you, right? So there has to be a specific point of tension before we even start moving, or connection into the hand. And from here, all I want us to do as a guy is I want you to start moving back whenever you're ready. As a lady, I just want you to wait. And if you've ever been to a group class of mine, you've heard that a million times, right? Wait for them. And all I want you to do, guys, is start. Take your first 2 walking steps, and then stop. And then go back to your original spot, and then get that tension again, and and then start it all over again. So we're taking our 2 walking steps, that's it. So we go walk, walk, and then go back to your original spot. Walk, walk, and go back to your original spot. Get your hips back, and then we start again. Walk, walk, and then go over to your original spot. Now guys, start off whenever you want, because they're following me by me saying walk, walk. That's it. There's a look of concentration on everyone's face. This is a good sign. This means that they're paying attention and waiting for you guys. Very nice. You that one. All right. Are there any people that do want to end up switching partners that did bring their partner? Okay. Well, in that case, I want to have the ladies scoot one down line. So we can please, or down over Oh no! Is that the cat? Yeah. Oh. There you go. What?
The drugs inside of that deal.
Oh, yeah. Drugs inside. Wasn't mine. Wasn't mine. So from here, again, we've got our wrist down, or flexed. From here, we've got our hips back. So that way there's a little bit of tension in throughout. And it's just a little bit. If it's to the point where her wrist, the lady's wrist, cannot be flexed, it's too much. It's just a little bit, right? So from here, it's just a bit. And then from there, guys, whenever you want, here's the next thing I'm going to add to this. Watch this for just a quick second. Now from here, watch this. I'm going to go walk, walk, and then I connect to her palm with the back of my fingers. That's the only thing that we're going to end up adding. That's huge. Trust me. Because if that doesn't happen, you're going to run right into it. And now, 2/3 of the amount of people that did come in with a certain being or did end up dancing with that person, now you're not dancing with your significant other. You run into this person, you're going to feel a little awkward, right? So make sure that you connect to that palm. So we're going to go, and whenever we want, we're just going to start moving. All we're doing is connecting here. We're trying to end up having this hand act as a butt. And notice the hand didn't move. The arm didn't move, right? So as we're doing that, that's the goal that we're going for at this point. It's just end up making it so that way we take our 2 walking steps, walk, walk, and walk. And as a lady, I want you to push towards it. Make him move you to the next step, right? I'm not moving until you tell me to, right? And then start walking back. From here, got him into that hand hold. And then from there, just take your 2 walking steps and stop. In the name of again.
Series of essays.
After the 2 walking steps, yeah.
Yeah, but before the closer to a
No. As you're doing this, you need to, just really quickly, everybody, as you're dancing this as a lady, there has to be this much space, at least, throughout your hand. Because there needs to be a pull, right, where we're both kind of pulling towards each other, and then a push where we're both pushing towards each other, right? But never a pull and a push at the same time, or never just a pull, or never just a push, right? So it should go back and forth. Notice how my body's moving, my arm is not, neither is hers, right? So as we're dancing this, Joanne and I are doing exactly what I want to end up seeing happen. We're going to end up pushing with the palm and the back of the hand and pulling with the fingers. And it should change. Watch this at this point, everyone. So we're going to go walk, walk, push. You see that? So if I call it out and pulls and pushes, we're going pull, pull, push. Right? Before we end up moving into the next step. And that's all we've gone to at this point because of how important it is to end up connecting this hand. Right? So the wrist is down. We've gone into this hand hold. We're going pull, pull, push. And then we stop. And then from there, we just walk back to our original spot. It's not we don't run through the wall. And we end up doing it all over again. Pull, pull, push. Right? Now notice, her body is rotating because her arm isn't going to buckle anymore. So after these two walking steps, walk, walk, in. You notice how her body's starting to turn? That's where we're going to end up connecting the other hand. So the guy now, I want you to end up holding up a high five with your right hand. Now bring it down to like a mid five. Not necessarily a down low hand, but like a mid five hand, right? Something that we hardly ever do, right? Nobody gets a mid five, right? We always go for the highs. Right? So as we're doing this, we're just going to make it so that way this hand is in front of us. And notice that my arms are always in front of my body. So that as I'm dancing this, again, we're still turned out just a little bit, right? We're still in that same footwork, but after those two walking steps, we connect to both hands, or all four hands connect, right? From there, that's the push, right? So we're going to go, at this point, this is the added step. We're going pull, pull, step. We should connect to both hands as a guy and girl. That's what we're going for. Let's give it a shot. Is everybody able to see that? Good. All right, here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Walk, walk, step. As a lady, we should be turned. Here we go. You're doing great. As a lady, you should be turned roughly towards this corner over here. Is where we should be turned. So let's try it again. Both out to an angle, right? Almost as if someone's watching us from this point of view, right? We're both kind of turned at an angle, and as we start to dance, she starts to come in to connect to my hand. All right, let's give it a shot. Guys, whenever you're ready. Make sure that when you're doing this, you at least take 2 or 3 seconds before you start it off again, because you need to connect to it. So ladies, wait for him to end up pulling back, then he starts. Hint, hint, guys. Pull, then start the motion, right? So we're pulling here, but we're actually pulled at this point away from each other, then we start that motion. And communicate with each other. If something doesn't feel right or something doesn't mesh, talk to each other. Hey, is it this or can it be that? Or do you feel this as well? Communicate with your partner. That's okay. We're going for a connection at this point. Okay. Don't tell your partner that they're doing it wrong though. That's my job. Right? Alright, is it working?
Janet,
Yes.
is there an ideal angle for a woman's arm?
It kind of all depends, because there are such a huge difference in heights. When you're dancing with me, it's going to be different than when you're dancing with Dad, or when you're dancing with someone that's taller or shorter, or whoever you're dancing with. But ideally, you want to end up keeping some form of a line throughout from elbow to elbow, where it's going to end up being somewhat straight, right? You don't want one person's elbow being really, really high and the other one's being low, unless there's like a 1.5 foot height difference, right? There should be no reason for it unless you have that, right? So as we're dancing, we're pretty much on par for our heights. That's the reason why our elbows are at about the right height. So that as we're dancing this, we can literally dance it and make it so that way the elbows don't necessarily move. But it shouldn't be at an angle, it should be straight over the elbow, for the most part. I mean, there might be a little bit of a difference, but not too much. It shouldn't be. So we get someone in here that's 7 foot. Then, okay. Okay, right? So from here, try it a couple more times with this partner, then we're going to switch. Alright, very nice. Ladies, please scoot one down if you could. Give that partner.
Ask him. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Alright. Try it a couple times with this partner, then we're going to add the next portion. So we've all turned out. We've got a little bit of tension throughout this arm, or connection through this arm, before we start moving. 6, 7, 8, walk, stop. And at this point, as a lady, you should be pressing towards the guy. Before he moves you out. Right? So you want to connect with him. Walk, and we connect. Try it on your own. You could do a high five, you can even do this pull here, you can go into a fist as well. Okay. Right? Couple of different. Okay. I'll try the easy one. There you go. Alright, any questions about that? Great, let's push our ladies, gentlemen. Yes! Great. Alright, so from here, we've gone into this point of contact, right? Watch this. We just go walk, right? Now from here, because we added a triple step, we've connected at this point, which is going to be a little bit more difficult for ladies. Ladies don't have to wait. So from here, we're going to go triple in place. Are we listening? Thank you. Triple in place. Then into our third step, we're going to end up literally making it so that way that connection that we've built up between all the hands, we're going to release. Now, there's none of this, right? This is not karate class. That's 4 stories down. As we're doing this, we're going to go towards that lady. Again, we're connected at this point. We've just gone triple step. Notice that my hands don't move any further than what they already are. Because we're not going to push her. We're just going to end up making it so that way we move her away from us. Right? Her momentum's going to continue to go. And ladies, take a little bit of liberties with that, right? You don't want to end up going out into oblivion. You're like, let go, right? None of that. That doesn't happen here. It will, but not now. So from here, as we're dancing this, we're going to walk, triple step, and let her go out. That's what we're going for. Again, now, for the ladies and the guys, we still have to make it so that way there's tension through this arm, so that way we can open back up again as we're doing our second triple step. Triple step. We're back out to our 45 degrees. We can start off with triple step, triple step. And we're going for that angle, for that open position, right? Or left side position. Try it again. Try it nice and slow. After the count of 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to walk, triple step, let her out. Then walk, triple step, let her out. And from here, keep that connection. There should be some tension to this arm again before we move. Triple step, then walk, triple step, triple stop. Guys, I want you to take your hip back and then start moving. Literally, and I know that we've all seen that, right? When someone goes to like sit down and they put their they're really putting their rear out there, right? They're like, oh, this is gonna be the buffer. Here we go. Before we sit, all right, we're good, right? It could be if they're in the sports car, they're sitting in like a kid's seat, whatever it is, right? When we're dancing, that we wanted to take our hips back, and then we can start to move. Because if the hips don't go back with the guy, we don't have that connection. And then from there, they're just left to guess. And they might do it right, they might not, right? You want to make it so those hips go back. Even if we got to bend into our knees. That's okay in West Coast. Then we start moving. Da-da-da, da-da-da. Hips back first. How's it going over there? Going good? You have any idea what I said? No, that's okay. Let's try it. I'm just giving you guys a hard time. Let's try it. Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Walk. Triple step. Triple stop. Look back. Then start moving. Triple step. Triple stop. Take those hips back. Walk. Triple step. Triple stop. Hips. Walk. Triple step. Triple stop. Hips back. Walk. Triple step. Hips go back. Walk. Triple step. Triple step. Go. Triple step. Triple hips back. 2. Triple step. Triple step. Walk. Triple step. Triple step. Now I know that it probably seems funny. You can probably think that I'm messing with you, but that's literally what I had to end up saying to myself for like the first year that I was dancing in order to get that down. Because that's literally the way you have to end up dancing at the West Coast. You don't just go, right? This is just arms pushing and pulling her back and forth like a yo-yo, right? As I'm dancing this, I literally think about taking my hips back, and if you watch carefully, watch this. Right? You literally have to take your hips back before you start to move as a guy to build that tension in the stance. And it does make it look cool. Let's try it. I'm going to have the ladies scoot one down again if you're please. Give that partner a round of applause. Sorry. Alright, let's give it a shot. Here we go. So the wrists are down. We got a little pull here. And now, guys, we're going to start to take those hips back. And then start moving whenever you want. right? That's what I want you to do.
What's going on there?
Yeah. Right? Now think about this, we're still in that senior position, right? She's not as much as That's it. Just so you know, it's exactly like sticking your butt out. I'm just throwing that out there. Right? I want you to do Alright, I'm done picking on you guys. I want you to take that respectively back towards the wall, about 2 feet away from this wall. It is dangerous. As a guy, what tends to end up happening is this. Watch this, I'm going to do it from here. So we start off here. Walk, walk. Walk. Before you know it, you're at the car, right? Right? Because you're dancing, you want to make it so you're about 2 feet away, and you know subconsciously that there's a wall behind you for some reason. I don't know what this reason is, you won't run into this wall. You won't be. You're not that kind of deterrent, so please don't. Let's try it again. Here we go. So from here, we're connecting to our partner, we start. Walk, walk, step, step, there, walk, step, walk. Nicely done, Dan. Walk. I know this might feel silly, but we're all doing it. It's okay. I'm even exaggerating it, right? So, like everything, you're always going to end up exaggerating what you see, right? Or what you're told to do, just to really get it in there. But when you're dancing this, don't worry. Good time, it'll go away. This, right? No one's doing that. I'm just kidding. As they're dancing this, just make it so that way you're connecting to your partner and this time. Oh, yes! Before you okay, back. Exactly, yeah. I said, yeah, exactly.
Says you I can love you, oh, give you what you need.
Exactly. And walk.
I'm told to go take you around. They say my patience is never. You know what I really stay here? That's not turn right back around. You know I really stay here. Oh, I turn right back around. Said I don't wanna leave you lonely. You gotta make me change my mind. Baby, just give me one reason. Oh, baby, just one reason why. Baby, just give me one reason. Oh, baby, just one reason why. I should say, said I told you that I love you, and there ain't no more to say.
Alright. Thank you. Alright. Are there any questions? I guarantee you, the next couple steps we're gonna end up learning / go through next week are gonna be really simple because we have this. Just so you know. Oh, yeah, the rest of it's gonna be. As you're dancing this, note that the only dance that has the basic as the third step in the syllabus is West Coast. Like your first step in West Coast is technically an underarm turn. And then it's a left side pass. And then the basic. And I know that that just sounded like gibberish, but usually the basic's the first step that you start off with in every dance, right? Your rub, it's your box, right? Slow, quick. Or your side basic, right? Depending on where you end up taking lessons in. Your waltz, it's always a box step, right? Your cha-cha, it's always that side basic or in place basic, right? But it's the same stuff. Those are the first steps that you end up learning. Before you end up going into other steps, not West Coast, because it's downhill. Take some time. We're gonna get this. We're gonna go through this. Are there any questions? Yes.
When you're doing the walk forward, is it a heel toe?
Is it
Matter? Flat?
I don't want to touch on the actual footwork with everybody, but I will end up telling you at this point that it is. Alright, are there any other questions? Good, thank you all very much for coming. And we're going to be starting camera class in about 45 seconds. Thank you. Thank you. Alright, thank you very much for coming. Will I see you next Monday too?
You don't see very small. Just watching it all. So Wolf is not.